On today's show, we're going to be queuing up and talking about the best and worst or most underrated queues. And we're going to give you a little bit of news as well, of course. That's today on Traveling with the Mouse. Welcome, everyone, to episode number... I lost my number.
371.
371, yes, of Traveling with the Mouse. I am your host this week. My name is John, and I am joined by my faithful and trusty sidekick, but really the show just doesn't happen without this individual, Adam.
What's up, everybody?
Yes, you're the glue.
Oh, okay.
You're
That
the
sounds
glue
better.
that holds this together.
Sorry, it was just playing GoldenEye 25th Anniversary Edition.
Oh, it actually came out. Or did you create it?
No, I was just kidding. I was trying to figure out a way to work that into the show, but, there's no other way to do that.
So you just did it.
Yeah, there's no lines from that.
It's
game.
almost like, hello, Jaws.
Yeah, right. There's, Jaws is the one you don't want to be in that game, and Oddjob is cheating, so anybody who remembers this game from 25 years ago.
I know, what is it, the Honest Video Game trailers? Whenever they said that about Oddjob.
Right.
It's like, we said no Oddjobs.
Yeah.
I was like,
basically.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. Lots of people our age were playing that game in the late 90s into the early 2000s, really.
Yeah, I mean, when it came out initially...
On a CRT 27-inch TV or something, Like, how in the world do kids do it today?
Yeah.
It's insane.
I was just thinking, I was like, what was I? When we first really started that, I was roughly like 1920, I guess, whenever I first got that, because I think the game came out in 96, 7?
97.
97.
August 25th,
Oh, excuse me.
1997.
That's right, you just said it, yeah.
So it was 25 years ago as we're recording this, so gives you an idea of when we recorded this.
And I don't think I got it until 98, so I don't think I got a system, and I don't think I got an N64 until 98.
It was a little later, but still.
I was between the ages of 19 and 20.
Yeah. That puts a date on us if you guys want to know how old we are. That's how old we are.
Well,
Actually, I'm young. I'm way younger than you, so way younger.
If I was between 19 and 20, you were like 12.
Yeah. That's like I said, way younger.
I don't know about way younger.
Anyway.
So let's get into this, because you didn't come here to listen to us talk about 25-year-old video games.
Right. That's a whole nother podcast. But hey, we could do that, probably.
We could make that podcast, right?
We could, yeah.
I don't know if we have enough material for that one.
Probably not. It would run out pretty quick.
Yeah, because it would only be old video games. We didn't keep that up. Not for very long.
We got old. Anyway.
So there are some people in their 40s that stuck with it, but I am not one of them.
Yeah, that's true. We had other obligations that took our time away.
Disney stayed, but video games kind of
That's true. Disney's the one thing that survived. I guess that's an interesting point. Disney survived it.
Except for classic video games, because I would actually still pull those out now.
Really?
I mean, I would still do that if I had time.
Yeah, I mean, I on the Nintendo Switch that my kids have,
Do they have
that
classics?
old. Yeah, there's like I don't know if you call it a channel. Is that what they call it these days? And you got like some Super Nintendo and NES titles on there on the store or whatever.
But I digress.
Yes, let's move on to.
Unless we talk about Disney video games, we maybe can do that one day. We'll
speaking of old things like this, Tron. I mean, that's from the 80s, right?
That's a video game.
Yeah.
It was an arcade game, actually.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
I mean, there was some news on that. Is that the biggest story of the week, though? I don't know.
That brings up another one. We're going to have to one day do which resort has the best arcade.
Oh, well, they're dwindling now to where I think, like, the values are the only ones that have good arcades anymore that I've seen.
See, I think, I could be wrong, but we said the Poly did away with theirs, but I think they just moved theirs, didn't they?
I don't recall ever seeing one. I know the Grand Floridians is no longer, I mean, unless it's in a broom closet somewhere.
I'm going to say, are you sure they didn't move theirs too? Because I swear I saw the Polys in a different section, like over there close to Captain Cook's.
Yeah. I was saying this before, but about 25 years ago, the Grand Floridian's arcade was where Gasparilla Island Grill is now.
Right.
That whole restaurant was the arcade. It was huge.
It's almost like we have now incidentally gone into this subject, so we're gonna have to bring it up somewhat now. But they actually had one called Moana Mickey's Arcade at Polynesian, and it's in that kind of standalone building that I don't know how the best way to describe it now.
Right.
Because
near the monorail,
really there.
I guess? Like near where the monorail goes by, almost. Yeah.
If you're staying in Takilau, it's like
south
if you're on the south end, if you're on the south end of Takilau, it's to your left, I guess, or if you're on the west side, or I mean east side.
I remember it because in '97, 25 years ago, there's a lot of video of playing Daytona USA and whatever those arcade games were of that.
Here's an interesting fact for you, something I had almost forgotten until I saw some video of it recently. There was actually a snack bar in there as well. Once upon a time, the arcade was much smaller, and there was a snack bar. And then over time, the time that we remember it most, when we were a little bit older, the whole area that was a snack bar became an extension of the arcade.
More arcade, huh?
Yeah. So, but there was a snack bar there at one time.
We probably got a snack bar there, right?
And then, of course, if you went on down a little further, there was actually another full-service restaurant there by the name of Tangaroa Terrace.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, like I said, I don't even know what they use the building for now. Once upon a time, the Tangaroa Terrace area was used for, like, wedding parties and stuff like that.
Event space or something,
yeah.
I was going to say Contemporary's Arcade was over there where most recently they had, like, a kids club thing or something. Yeah. It's near where that Fantasia gift shop thing is, where it's sort of it's a very weird gift shop that's like in the middle of the concourse area, you know what I mean, near the monorail station and all that. I think, isn't that where the arcade was, the Contemporary? I feel like it was.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I don't remember much. I don't think I've ever been in the Contemporary one.
I think it was there as late as 2010 because I feel like I went in there.
Really?
Maybe I could be wrong.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Yes.
Yeah.
That area, yes, I have been in there too. It just took me a moment because it's in the main building.
Right, yeah. Right in the main concourse.
And there's nothing in there now, obviously.
Yeah, that last time...
Not gaming, anyway.
Right, there was something in there. It was some sort of like kids club or something. But I don't know what it is now, post-COVID, but anyway. Yeah. Trying to think of any other resorts that stick out. I know, like I said, the values, the arcades are still there because like Pop Century has a nice one.
I was going to say Pop Century's got to be the best one of the ones that still remain.
Yeah, it's the best one I've seen. I know when I was at All Star Music, they had a decent looking arcade.
Mm-hmm. But the reason why I say that about Pop is because not only is it pretty good size, but they kind of stuck with the theming there, so they have a lot of older ones in there, so they stuck to the theming.
Nice.
So yes, definitely the best arcade.
That's where they put the Daytona USA from.
I don't think I remember seeing that in there though. I hate to say it, but they probably got rid of that.
Yeah. Wow, we totally invented a new topic for this show. We're talking about arcades.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go back and redo the intro.
Yeah, talking about arcades today. We'll just say, and arcades real quick, and I'll put it in. Go ahead.
And we'll have a little discussion about Disney arcades. How about that?
Sure. You realize I'm not going to do that, right? But
probably not, but I just said it anyway, because you told me to. Anyway, let's do a little bit of news, shall we?
Yes. We need like a jingle for...
A jingle?
News. Yeah, for like, let's talk about the news, and then we do a little
jingle. Yeah. Playing SOS is what it sounded like I was doing.
Yeah. We're going to do the news in Morse code today. Okay,
Communicore Hall construction goes vertical at Epcot. This is kind of funny. I've heard a lot of people joking about this. They're like, well, they tore it down just to build it back.
Right. Well, they're going to build back better.
Right. Is that the Epcot theme?
Exactly.
Right.
Build it back better.
Build back a more, I guess, modern Communicore.
Right. Tear it down and build it back, and then make it look like it's old. So,
it's like, Mr. Liu Kang, tear down this Communicore. Oh.
And then rebuild this Communicore. That's what they're going to do. I remember when they had that giant, the pin thing. What do you call that device? Where you stick your hand under it and you push the pins up.
Oh, yeah. There's several of those things over time, but they've kind of faded now. It used to be a big deal.
I remember they used to have a giant one in there.
Yeah. They've had a lot of different things in those Communicore areas at times.
Yeah.
I remember in the later years, there was a space where Jay Leno, you could like sit on this thing like you were on his show, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
The Tonight Show. Yeah,
oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool. I totally remember that now. Dang it.
If you go way back, of course, they got the computer thing that was always a big deal. That music actually made the original Epcot soundtrack.
I remember one time you were there and you like emailed me something and it was like, what? That's the coolest thing. You sent me something from Disney.
Yeah, but that was the Spaceship Earth.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It was in Spaceship Earth, I think.
I thought that was something
I know I was able to send the stuff from Spaceship Earth, like you could send those, the ending scene, which is still there.
Right.
But I don't think they have a section where you can actually email the ending.
I thought that was something you sent me. Anyway.
Maybe there was something else.
But what didn't they have like Sega Dreamcast in there at one point too? You could play the...
They did have a section for that sort of stuff. Yeah, they had that. Anyway. That's where I first discovered the Magical Racing Tour or whatever it was.
Right, yeah. Basically the Disney version of Mario Kart.
Pretty much. But the thing that was cool about it is it had original soundtrack music in it, and it went through attractions.
Disney World. And it was Disney World specific.
Yeah, it went through Disney World attractions. So, except for the You'll Be Swimming with the Sharks. That was not original.
Right. I hate to bring this up, but I mean, most everything was made like with Disneyland in mind first. And this was one of the few things. Even merch today is mostly Disneyland centric, but I get it.
We started going down that rabbit trail of another topic that we said we might do, Disney video games. We're going to leave that one alone and pick it up later, because I feel like we could do a whole segment on that one. Like, we're going to have to do some research to remember some of the Disney video games.
Shoot, we should buy some old games too and play them. That'd be fun.
But yeah, Communicore Hall construction, we'll see what that's going to look like when it's all said and done. Yeah. It'd be really funny if it looked like the original Communicore.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, all right. So they literally just tore it down and built it right back.
I'm going to say, is it going to be an homage to the old one?
Yeah.
Because it was most recently not Communicore, it was Innoventions, right? So there's a difference.
Good point. Yes, it got changed to Innoventions.
So Communicore is going old school.
Yep.
Just a quick mention here, 3 more dates sell out for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Good job, everybody, for showing Bob Chapek that you detest his price increases by selling out every time.
Exactly. I think people are just craving normalcy again, and so I think that's why it's selling out. It's like, hey, I remember this. This makes me feel like, the world is back in 2019 again when things sort of made sense.
Well, I'm really curious how much of this in-park demand is due to, like you said, pent up from the pandemic, and combined with the fact that it was the 50th. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see once this is all over with what happens as far as demand goes.
So. In a way, it's kind of brilliant. I mean, again, I hate to say it, but last year...
You hate to give Bob Chapek credit?
I do, but it's like last year... They charged outrageous prices for a half party. Wasn't even called the Not So Scary, right? And what was it, Boo Bash or something? And this year... The price is lower than what it was last year for pretty much everything, but it's back to what it was. And so now everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's back. It's amazing. This is the best thing ever. Even though I'm still paying more for it. It's brilliant.
I saw somebody a little earlier. They mentioned something about the difference in price in alcohol, right? Mm-hmm. This particular one was at Disneyland, though, because they had a receipt apparently from the Diamond Celebration, right? The 60-year.
Right.
This person posted $5.25 increase in 7 years. Only a 63% increase. I made a comment. I was like, I think it's been proven that people will buy alcohol no matter what the cost, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's one item that you can always mark up and people will still buy it. I mean, Apparently the same goes for party tickets.
That's one of the reasons why I think I love Baseline Tap House so much is you can get, and again, maybe I shouldn't say this, but the prices are like slightly lower than what you would get at most other places for the same thing.
It's a hidden gem?
Kind of, yeah. And again, as I say this, I'm regretting it, but,
Well, there's certain places where you can get better value, and the word gets out, and then, of course, things change.
They're like, oh, this place is popular. Yeah. let's triple the price.
Yeah.
You'll triple my price.
It's just like, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with a lot of people thinking that coral reef is not that good because I like it and it probably helps keep availability. So
Right, yeah. Sebastian's, for example, is still a good restaurant, and the price
yeah, the demand is
are
not
low.
there though for some reason. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess people don't really think of it yet. I mean,
Right. So it's
I
like
think if
people,
more people gave it a chance,
right.
then it would be
But-
more popular.
You know, you think about like going to a resort for dining, you're not like, let's go to a moderate and go dining.
Right, unless you're already staying there.
Right, yeah. So not a lot of people would go there in general, but it's worth it. It really is. And the prices are low because, you know, of the location, I guess.
Looks like Expedition Everest has been experiencing some downtime in the last week or so, a couple of times.
I noticed.
Spent 2 days in a row going down. Or
Yeah,
staying
down
closed.
like all day, right? Or most of the day.
Yeah, which is, again, it's very odd because it's been an extended refurb, and I feel like prior to the refurb, it was never down.
Yep.
And it's almost like one of those situations where we talked before about fixing it till it's broke.
Yep. I've seen a lot of people complaining on Reddit about Tower of Terror being down a lot, along with, of course, Rise breaking down all the time, but it's always been
That's always been the case, yeah. And like we said before, if Test Track is any example, then it's never going to be any different. So
Right. But I have noticed that Everest, Tower of Terror, even Toy Story Mania, I've noticed has gone down a lot lately.
now that's a little unusual compared to what it was.
Yeah. But even the day I was there a month ago, Toy Story Mania was down at some point during the day. Tower of Terror was down. Of course, Rise was down a couple of times, as it always is. But interesting, right? I mean,
Maybe it's a power issue. Maybe Hollywood Studios needs its own personal little like nuclear power plant right
yeah.
outside.
Maybe or more solar panels or something. Maybe it's the construction of Woody's Roundup barbecue restaurant is causing these power outages. They're digging,
Right.
And they hit
Sure.
a power line or something.
Of course.
That's what it is.
Sure. Let's see. Let's just, because we want to go through some of these
Yeah.
quickly today so we can get to our other topic. Tron vehicle testing seems to be progressing
Yes.
to the point where
Oh my
I think
gosh.
some people are thinking it being open before the end of the year is more of a real possibility.
Yeah, it sure looks like it. I think today they were talking about even sound effects and like music and things were playing out there tonight as we're recording this. So it might already be open by the time this episode gets out. But I don't know. There's still work to do outside. Clearly, there's still some more going on. I'd say we're 2 or 3 months minimum still. So I'm thinking if it is this year, it's going to be like December, right? I mean, that's my guess.
Yeah.
If it would.
I don't know. I still don't rule out October. I mean, I know it's not that far away, but I don't rule it out.
Well, I mean, we're a month away from
I don't rule it
October
out. I'm just
1.
saying.
I don't know.
D23. You're going to say,
Right.
you're going to say Tron
There's
will be
no
opening in October. No.
I mean, if it's October, it's going to be Halloween. That would be the earliest
So?
I think it could possibly open.
October 1st.
There's no way it's
Why
going to
not?
be
It's
October
only a
1st.
month out. Why
There's
not?
no way.
They're testing people in it. Why not? They're testing people.
That
on
I
it.
will guarantee.
They're testing people on it. Sure.
There's no way it'll be October 1. But it might be December 1.
December
Possibly.
1. That was
Could
your new prediction is. If we keep giving enough predictions, eventually we'll be right.
Yeah, I'm just going to predict every day for the next, yeah.
What was it, a Saved by the Bell episode when Zach was running a pool on Mr. Building's baby?
Yeah.
You know, he had certain days blacked out because those were his. Or something like that.
All right. I mean, don't you think, though, they'll give a month of the DVC, pass holder previews, media previews? They're going to do like they did with Guardians,
Yeah, good point. So maybe October 1st will be previews.
Galaxy's Edge, you know. they
No, it
did all
won't be previews
these.
that far in advance. We'll see.
But
Before
If
the
it's
end
in-
of the year is looking promising. I'll just say it that way.
the Guardians preview, or Ratatouille was also that way. Guardians preview, I think, was not as good as it could have been. But anyway.
Speaking of which, as of the time we're recording this, this day anyway,
Yeah.
AP discounts for the winter or for the Christmas season were released.
Mhm.
And from what I've been hearing, pretty much most of the good stuff was gone in like a matter of hours.
Of course.
So it was already limited anyway.
Right.
What they were releasing, of course. So,
Okay.
yeah. I didn't even bother looking because I didn't think I was going to go anyway. But at the same time, it wasn't worth it because it was going to be gone, just like I said. So, I mean, just like that.
Yeah.
All right. There is news about resort guest early entry shifts to 60 minutes before park open, starting on September the 8th.
Right. That's really good news for resort guests. That gives you...
I wonder if the reason why they started with just the 30 minutes one was because of staffing.
Could have been.
Because I feel like they still were short on staff even with a 30-minute one.
Yeah, it could have been.
Because I can remember a time period when they had like a literal rope that would drop.
Right.
But you would have like, I don't know, like at least 6, if not more, cast members at these spots, right?
Yeah, and they'd walk you in slowly so you don't trample over people like a Black Friday sale.
As I mentioned, when I was there for opening at Epcot this last time, there was one lady there. She was basically saying, thank you for listening and for not like just trampling, for actually not, just ignoring her pretty much.
Wow, that's scary.
Which I get it. I mean, she's just one person there. I mean, if we really wanted to, we the people, we could have just like ignored her and gone on and gone where we wanted.
Right.
If we really wanted to. But everybody behaved, so that's good. And then they do it, for the most part.
That's probably another reason why Magic Kingdom only does Fantasyland and
it's hard to control.
Tomorrowland, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to... At least they'll have enough cast members there to block the bridges off, yeah. Yeah, crazy. It's a great advantage, though. I mean, I'm telling you, when I was not staying on property back in June, July, it was tough. Like, it was not easy. You had to really work Genie Plus to get enough out of your day. Like, that extra... early morning thing was helpful.
I like doing a rope drop for certain things. I'm kind of at that point in my life where I'm like, I'll just go in the afternoon, evening if I have to, and just make the most of it type deal. I mean, that's kind of how I've kind of adjusted how I do parks somewhat. Yeah. It depends on if something's new or not, maybe.
Yeah. I don't love the thought of having to get there super early, especially how early some of these parks are opening right now.
Especially what it takes when you have multiple kids.
Yeah. 7:30 a.m.
Even if you have just 2.
Not fun.
And if you have 2 and they're girls, it makes it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, I'm sure. But it's a big advantage if you're able to get there that early.
Moving along, the Disney in-room bath products, H2O Plus, the provider.
Yeah.
They have announced that they will be retiring the brand at the end of 2022. And so far, Disney has not really said how it's going to affect their 2023 and beyond. Or at least I haven't seen it so far. Hopefully I haven't missed any updates yet. But as of right now, I haven't seen an update. As of the time we're recording this, I haven't seen an update. Right.
So what am I going to do with my giant box full of these that I took home from my mini stays at resorts over there?
I got to be honest. I feel like this is just going to make that worse for people that are going now because they're just going to they're probably going to try to rip those dispensers off the wall or bring like a tool for getting this thing done.
Yeah. Look for the eBay price to skyrocket for these.
Yeah.
If they
It's just how crazy people are nowadays when it comes to this stuff.
I'm going to hold on to what I've got then for a couple of years and sell them at a giant increase.
I've got some of the stuff. I could probably get something out because I've still got some of the stuff in an original bottle. Still here.
Yeah, I've got tons of those little ones, airplane carry-on size ones that they used to give out freely.
That might be worth something now, and it'll only be worth something even more later.
Yeah, I know. It's a rare thing now.
Speaking of popular items, there is a Monstro tiki mug that's coming to Trader Sam's. It's at Disneyland. I think they're going to have it in Magic Kingdom too, though, at Trader Sam's and Poly.
Polynesian? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they're going to have it at Poly. Or they may already have it at Poly, too. So
that would be nice.
That would be, yeah. But it's a pretty cool looking mug, actually. And it's just kind of nice for them to do it, see them go into a throwback villain or a throwback movie and using merchandise. Because Pinocchio, that was early days.
Right.
And they've already showed that they've added Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse intro has been added to Disney Enchantment, kind of making that a little bit better.
I watched it. It is nice. It's longer than I expected it to be, too. It's kind of nice. I liked it. Nice touch.
I think they understand that people really loved Happily Ever After, and whenever they changed it, it didn't sit well. So if you're going to replace something like Happily Ever After, you're really going to have to bring it, and they didn't quite. I mean, even though I liked it, I mean, I like some of the changes they made. I would think that they could probably take some elements from both, and that would be kind of like the best show, truthfully. Yeah. But, they've realized that, and they've started making some changes to it, so, I mean, kudos for that, right? I mean,
yeah, the Walt and Roy edition is really nice. I liked it. So
yeah, there you go.
Should have done it October 1 last year, though, but, better late than never.
The Imagination Pavilion was evacuated and closed due to a burst pipe.
Yeah, I saw. Did you see this video of this giant geyser coming out of the building, though?
I didn't see that, no.
It's crazy.
A couple of people had, on Twitter and on social media had made comments of, hey, maybe this will actually motivate them to change it.
Right.
I mean, something like this. Maybe it'll actually go down for, to make it a good change to it.
Did it get flooded? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. The sad part is it'll unfortunately never be the original version again, which was good. Stupid fire codes. I mean, come on.
We need Dreamfinder back, even though he's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Dreamfinder and Figment, they went hand in hand.
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis, I'm going to give this one right quick, has asked a judge to dismiss the Reedy Creek Improvement District lawsuit and notes that the dissolution might not happen, which is kind of what we suspected all along anyway. I really think he kind of jumped the gun on this, again, for the publicity, and when all was said and done, we kind of expected it to not happen. I think things have started to die down regarding that because most people, I mean, it's, when it comes to news stories, people pay attention to it for like 15 minutes and then they put it in the back of their mind pretty much most of the time. So, right. Yeah.
I figured this would happen. I'm still a little confused if this is actually what's going down, but we'll keep our eye on this as it continues.
Ultimately, we don't expect anything to happen when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, we said that from day one. We didn't think it would actually go through. I think it was more of a statement.
I think as it cycles out of the news or has cycled out of the news for the most part, like a lot of things that people, as we've seen, history suggests that a lot of times if you just kind of wait out or endure the initial shock factor of most things, people forget about it and you can just go about your business as usual afterwards. I mean, that's just, to be honest, that's how things go. For the good or the bad, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, time will make everyone move on and forget.
Pretty much. They'll move on to the next big thing. So, let's see. Hey, new $600 mini ears arrive at Disney World. Good Lord. $600 mini ears? I'm guessing these are real diamonds in it.
Probably, I would hope, yeah. Well, or it's just, Chapix. That's what the going rate is these days.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned the utility work underway at the Rodeo Barbecue Roundup. Was that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I was joking about that's what's causing the power outages or ride issues at Hollywood Studios.
And for those who have missed it, the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique has had a soft open already at Magic Kingdom. It's soft open now. Bit of good news for annual pass holders. They have increased the merchandise discount for a short time period. It's gone from, was it 20 to 30? So they've increased it by 10%.
That's nice. They did that last year. I see it's from September 14th to October 14th. That's nice, but I probably won't get there before then. So, oh well. That is good, though.
For those that have had trouble finding when the next time you can book something on Disney Genie Plus, they've made it more obvious. They've added a next eligible booking time to the app on the front part, the tip board, so that's good. You could actually find it before, but it was not as obvious. It's like you had to go try to choose something, and then it would tell you next time.
Yeah, it's kind of highlighted now at the top.
Yeah, so it's more obvious. Yeah, so that's kind of a good change.
Because used to, you would have to click on a ride, click on a time to say, oh, well, these people aren't eligible until this time. But now it tells you at the top of the screen, like, oh, this is your next time you can book something. So that's nice. Again, add modify. That's what they need to be working on, not this. Let me modify an existing one rather than having to drop it completely and then go pull another one. It's like, Because there's plenty of times where I've got one booked, and I'm looking around on the app, and I see one come up for a better time, but I can't get it because I have to cancel the other one, and by the time I do that and get back to it, it's gone. It's like, just let me modify. Anyway, add modify.
Looks like the journey of water has really come a long way. I mean, this is actually taking shape really fast.
Done a lot of quick work on it.
Yeah. This might come to fruition sooner than originally thought, but we'll see. Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to this one. I've always loved that movie. I always thought it deserved more attention than it got initially, and then when Disney Plus came out, it trended very, very well, and I was happy to see that.
Right. I mean, but this is the first kind of, how often do they do walkthrough attractions where...
Very often. I like the idea, though. I mean, mostly animals, like Animal Kingdom, they have those.
I like the idea. I just don't see this being like a huge draw necessarily after a while.
Well, I think it's one of those things that it'll help eat some people when needed. I think that's kind of like Walt Disney Presents. Sure. I mean, I don't feel like it attracts people, but it's not like it's going to be, it's not expected to be the same draw as Rock and Roller Coaster or,
Of course not, but
anything like that.
I see a lot of like jumping fountains and things like... How many people are over at the jumping fountains at Imagination these days? Almost nobody goes over there.
Well, it's been there and done that because it's been there for 4 years.
Like I said, after a couple of years, who's going to be walking through this?
Well, you say after a couple of years. It's going to take longer than that because there's going to take more than a couple of years for everybody who wants to see it to see it.
I don't know. I don't see it being. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but...
Take, for example, Flight of Passage. How long has it been open? And it still has quite a wait.
It's definitely going down, though.
But it still has quite a wait.
It does.
And it's been, at least 5 years?
It's an incredible attraction, but...
It takes a while for an attraction. Frozen. It's kind of, waned a little bit, but still.
Yeah.
It's been there, since 15?
But here's the other question. What else is at Animal Kingdom right now to draw people?
Everest.
They haven't opened anything since Pandora, though.
You're talking about something new to draw.
Right. Nothing.
I don't necessarily have to have a new draw.
Right, but I'm just saying, that's why Flight of Passage is still popular. There's nothing else to do since 5 years or 6 years, however long it's been now. Nothing new has changed. So, of course, everyone's still going to go do that.
Yeah. The price of the captain's table dinner increased on the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah, big shock. Does this include a trip to Skywalker Ranch? No.
Let's see. What did it go from? It jumped from $30 per person to $50 per person. So it's probably just like Disney inflation.
Yeah, they're just like $30.
I was like, we lowballed it to start with. Let's see what we really want to make it.
We want to match the demand with the price. Yeah.
Also, 2023 bookings are now open for Golden Oak and Club 33 members. I guess they figured that they'd open it early for those two groups because they're the ones that could probably
afford it. They might actually buy it, yeah, right.
They might actually be able to afford it. That's funny.
About right.
It depends on what it is. If you mortgaged your house for the third time in order to get Club 33 or Golden Oak, then maybe not.
Yeah, there's probably somebody out there that did that.
It's possible. It's very possible. All right, so that kind of brings us up to date on the news. So let's move on to our next segment. Someone on Twitter actually kind of brought this topic to our attention. I just happened to see it, and I was like, you know what? That's not a bad one.
It's an interesting topic.
Talking about, I think we've done queues before to some degree, but I don't think we've ever done it in the sense of ones that are underrated even, or I don't, have we even done the best one on the show before? I think we've discussed it, but
we may have talked about it, but I don't recall actually, and I'm not prepared for this, so I'm just going to go off the top of my head.
I was going to say, this is going to something. We're just going to do this totally on the fly.
Yeah. No pre-determined.
We're going to give we'll do a 5 best, and then maybe the most underrated one you can think of, and then the worst one you can think of.
Oh, gosh.
And let's start with maybe the 5 best.
Okay.
So... I know what I have in my head, what I think is the best one overall. So if I go down the list, do you have something already in mind for your number 5?
Yeah, I'm going to say one that it's kind of a joke, but it kind of isn't when you think about it. Yeah. So mine, and it has a couple of stipulations. So number 5 for me is Grand Fiesta Tour. And the stipulation is
Because that's an inside joke when you said it's got jokes.
yes. So it has to be when the line is very long and it's backed up to all the way back
Cava.
to the kind of right. So you go to La Cava first. You get in that line. You get your drink at La Cava. This actually happened to us probably, I can't remember. It was maybe right after the cruise early this year. Mm-hmm. We got our drinks at La Cava. We walked over to Grand Fiesta Tour. We're like, okay, the line's kind of long. Let's just go ahead and drink our drinks while we're in line. And of course, the cast member tells us you can't get into that, where all the switchbacks are until you're done with your drink. So we're like, okay, we get to that part. And we're like, okay, we're not done. So we just walk around back, go right back into the queue again, that extended queue area. Mm-hmm. We did that like 3 times before we finished our drinks. But hey, it's nice. You're looking around this beautiful marketplace at night, the theming, and you get to see the rides go by, the restaurant, and all that. And then when we finished our drinks, we finally got back to that point, and we just walked right on the ride, essentially, because by then the line had died down. And we just walked right on the ride. We were freshly margaritaed up, and we enjoyed the ride. So that's going to be my number 5.
Okay. I'm going to try to spread this out amongst the parks.
Yeah.
When I do it.
Okay.
I'm going to give my number 5, because when I think of best, I'm going to think of best like theming wise and everything,
sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give my number 5. I'm going to give it to Pirates.
Okay.
And I got to be honest,
good.
I feel like the queuing. One thing that Florida does better than the one in California is the queue.
Yeah,
because I feel like the queue has more stuff in it.
That's nice queue.
No matter which side you choose, that's another thing. You have 2 different sides. You're going to see 2 different things pretty much when you queue, right?
Right.
So I feel like that queue is more detailed and has more stuff you can actually witness and look at, and more so than its counterpart.
Yeah.
It's one of the better ones at Magic Kingdom, to be quite honest.
That's a good point.
If not the best at Magic Kingdom.
It might be, yeah.
Because a lot of Magic Kingdoms are not a whole lot of theming to it still.
Yeah. Only the newer stuff, really.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Pirates at my number 5. So.
That's a good one. The only thing about Pirates I don't like is when you get to that sort of split point and they send you off to the right, which is a longer queue area than if you go left,
So which one do you actually like as far as the overall theming? Do you like the left better or do you like the right?
I just like left because it's shorter.
I don't think it really is. I think that's an illusion.
It's shorter.
I think it's an illusion.
I think it's shorter.
I really do.
I think it's way shorter.
Because I thought the same thing as you before, and then I looked at the actual space, like I looked at the layout, and I think it's just an illusion. I think the way it's done, the way it's laid out is an illusion.
I think left is to the right is longer. Although I will say to the right is cooler because you've got the guy digging for treasure in the little cave when you start going down the ramp, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you've got the boat off in the distance that you can see, like when you're going down the ramp, you see it better.
Past the cannons.
Right. Yeah, you go through that, yeah.
Well, you pass you pass the jail cell where the 2 skeletons are playing checkers.
Or whatever.
Yeah, chess, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the 2.
So it's better theming, but again, I think it's longer. But anyway, that's just me.
Like I said, I think it's an illusion. I really do. And it may just seem that way because I think more people go right than go left, typically. All right, so you need to, what's your number 4 that you thought of?
It's hard to say.
It's tough.
Yeah, trying to think of the best ones. I will say one that I like at Hollywood Studios. It just popped into my head. I'm trying to think of one that really is, as far as Hollywood Studios, I was thinking of Toy Story Mania is one that I like. I don't know that I would put it number 4 though, but it's a welcome air conditioning, and there is a lot in there to look at. And you have Mr. Potato Head if you're in the regular queue when he's working. So yeah, it's a good queue. I'd say it's really good. I it's hard to say number 4 necessarily. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm off the top of my head, so I'm just going to go with it.
Well, while you've been talking each time, I've tried to go through my head and thinking of ones.
Another one, I'll say this too, a tie. I'll give it a tie because I'm just thinking Smuggler's Run's a good one, actually. I think that one is one of the better
I was
queues,
going to consider it, yeah.
yeah, that I've seen, because you get a lot of cool views of the Falcon,
Mm-hmm.
and the indoor part I think is really cool as well. So that's another one. It's solid, very solid.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's actually was going to be on my list, so.
I'm not a fan of Rise of the Resistance queue until,
It's very underwhelming.
yeah, for the most part, it's not great.
There's not a whole lot to look at until you're right there, like at the almost at the
Right.
the pre-show.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Smuggler's Run / Toy Story Mania. I don't know.
I think with my number 4, I'm actually going to go with one that I think would probably be higher back in the day, but as time has gone on, there's been some more elaborate and more immersive ones come along. But the overall feel once you get to the door of Tower of Terror,
Yeah.
I think is a very good queue. I think it fits the theming. I think it's somebody spent a great deal of money, I think, on that lobby area.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I've always heard the story that they went over budget and the person that was responsible for it ultimately got fired. I hope that's not true. Because it's one of the best queues to me still today. So
Yeah, I feel like you don't spend enough time in that lobby.
yeah,
would love
it's
to spend
short.
more time in there.
Yeah, it's short, but I mean, I just think just that little
It's
bit,
gorgeous,
it's just so impression. It makes such an impression
It does, yeah.
queue wise.
Because
Yeah.
I honestly, that's going to be my number 3, I think. As much as I don't love Tower of Terror, I just don't like drop rides. The theming is incredible. I absolutely love the theming at Tower of Terror, and so yeah, all the way up to the pre-show room, I think is just spectacular theming.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm going to put it at number 3 on my list.
You're going to put it at 3. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with my 3. You mentioned Smuggler's Run. I think I'm actually going to go with Smuggler's Run as my 3.
Okay, understood.
And I say this because as far as overall queues in Hollywood studios, it's the most detailed one.
Yeah.
I'll say that. I really feel that way. As far as like all the way through, like there's more detail. Because like from the moment you pretty much go through the queue, there's detail from the very beginning all the way to the end.
Right.
I mean, you get to points where you get to get shots of different angles of the Falcon. I mean, who
wouldn't want that?
Who wouldn't want that? I mean, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. I mean, isn't that just awesome in itself?
Yeah.
Being able to see the Falcon from the back or whatever.
Right,
you know,
from
when
the
you're
side,
looking
the
at glass.
back, up high, down low, every angle.
Especially back in the day when it was, more popular than it is right now. The queue used to actually go through the outside part of the Falcon as well.
Right.
I don't think it's done that in a while, but just that in general, I think that it deserves a top spot or a high spot.
It's a really good queue, yeah. Agreed.
All right. I think that brings you back to your 2.
Yeah, I mean, again, I want to come up with something different, but number 2 and number 1 I think are going to be obvious once I say this one. But number 2 for me, I'm going to go with Kali, River Rapids at Animal Kingdom, because
I just recently did that one, and I was not.
I love Kali. When you get to the...
Okay, I take that back. I did the Lightning Lane, so I did miss most of the queue. So
right, yeah, when you're in that towards the... there's some parts of it that are kind of long and not great, but then when you get closer to the end, there's so much detail to look at in these little buildings. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so I love it.
All right, so for my number 2, and I would like to take this time to give a nod to some before we get into it, because my 2 and 1 I think are pretty obvious to me.
Right, like special mentions or whatever.
Yeah, like special mentions. I like to give a couple of them, really.
Honorable mention, yeah.
Believe it or not, I like to give a mention to It's Tough to Be a Bug. And I say that because the queue, when you get down, especially closer to the tree, it's kind of interesting because as you walk, it's like the way they do the queue, the tree looks like it's a regular size, right? But the way they do the queue, it starts looking bigger and bigger, almost like you're shrinking down to the size of a bug.
And you go under it.
Most people don't realize this. They don't even think about that.
And you're going under it, essentially, under the ground.
Yeah, and then you see these carvings along the way that are very detailed.
Yeah.
And then you're under the tree. I mean, and they make it look very much like you're going under the tree. Yeah. I mean, I think that one gets lost a lot of times, exactly the effect that they were going for. Like I said, the fact that the tree actually starts looking bigger to you, it's almost like as you go along, you're shrinking down to the size of a bug. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that's an honorable mention.
Here's an honorable mention I'll give is Peter Pan. I think what they've done with the queue.
They've changed it. Yeah.
Right. The new queue, right? The newish queue. I think they've done a great job with the indoor part. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to give me a good spot on that one because of how long I had to wait in it the last time that I was there.
Yeah. I don't love waiting that long for a 3-minute ride, but
exactly.
But what they did with the queue is spectacular. Yeah, they've done a great job with that queue.
Another, if you want to talk about ones that they improved queue-wise, Haunted Mansion's one you can mention. They improved by adding the graveyard. They improved that one.
Like the extended area. Yeah.
It's still not much to it though overall. Even though I love the attraction, there's still not much to the queue.
Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate because of the Florida rain. You have to have the covering. But you can't get great views of the mansion unless you're in the lightning lane. You know what I'm saying? I wish it was kind of like Smuggler's Run in the sense that you had better, like you see the mansion facade in different angles, up close, but it just doesn't work out that way.
I would think a good honorable mention would be like Space Mountain, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know it's like a tunnel, but I mean, it's kind of it's true to the theming.
I guess the tunnel part, but once you get to the switchback area, it is brutal.
Pretty much, it's pretty much
for like 30 minutes. It is brutal.
Yeah, you got a good point. There.
Brutal.
But that's what most of them still are to this day. Hard to believe, but it is.
Yeah, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is decent at times, but yeah, I wouldn't.
Once you get to the indoor,
right?
Yeah,
indoor. Speaking of indoor,
that one's okay.
Star Tours, the outdoor part, but it's rarely ever in the outdoor part.
Yeah. The indoor part is brief, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
back to the list.
You've already done 2, right?
Yeah, I already did 2. Yeah, I think you're doing 2.
So I'm on 2. I'm going to go with the latest one, Guardians of the Galaxy, even though I haven't really experienced it.
Oh, you just did Lightning Lane.
Yeah, I did Lightning Lane, so I haven't experienced the full queue, but I've seen it. Yeah. And I think the overall full queue, I'm impressed by it. And the parts that I experienced, I'm impressed by. Which was really just a pre-show, but
I liked it, but I can't say I didn't put it on this list intentionally. I was thinking about it, like where would I put it on this list? I'm like, I don't think it's in the top 5 best. I think
it is, especially for the nostalgia references. Is pretty cool.
I do, yes, but right, that's true. But it takes you forever, even to get once you finally get to that first sort of pre-show room. I call it the test track room. Where you're waiting to go into the design your car. That's what it feels like. And then you go to one pre-show, and then you go to the next pre-show, and then it expands into the next pre-show, and then you walk through another area that could be crowded. Yeah. And then it's like it feels like Soarin', but
I enjoyed the previous test track queue better than I do the current one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I like the pre-show of the test track. Rather than designing a car is kind of cool, but.
I even thought about some of the stuff in Mission Space, but Mission Space doesn't have much of a queue.
Yeah, I don't love Mission Space.
Spaceship Earth doesn't have much of a queue. I mean, it's all outdoors.
Going to put it on. I might put it on the worst list actually.
Yeah,
it's not great.
Well, what was your number 2? I'm sorry, I think
Kali was number 2.
Kali was your 2. Okay.
Number 1 is Everest. I think.
Oh, you're going to say Everest is number 1?
I think Everest is the best queue they've ever built. Every second of that queue is entertaining.
To me, I think number 1's pretty obvious just because of how immersive and how
what's your
everything they did with it is Flight of Passage.
I think it should be in the top 5 now that I think about it.
Think about it. Even outdoors, you have all those views of how well they did the outdoor part.
The lab, to me, is the only part that's really good.
And once you get inside... you do have the lab. I mean, it's consistent theming. It's the most consistent and most immersive theming.
Yeah.
All the way through as far as a queue in Walt Disney World goes. That's my opinion.
I would say the lab part, yes. The other, I'm trying to recall.
I think from the moment you hit the
caves
gate, even outdoors, the moment you hit the gate,
it's good.
Immersive.
Okay. I would agree. Okay. It is better than I'm thinking. We did wait an hour for this last time we were there, and
it affects your opinion.
I will say I do like that they put a bathroom in the queue. That's nice.
Yes.
The lab is really good, so it probably deserves a top 5. I just wasn't thinking it, but to me,
I think it's hands down the best right now.
To me, Everest is so far and above the others to me. Any queue, Everest to me is the best because you walk into that queue and you are completely immersed in that area. And there's certain areas of that queue where you get some great angles of the ride and the mountain that you can't see from any other part of the park, but in that queue.
Yeah, so, I think you've been influenced by Roadie right there on that one.
Well, I mean, what about Flight of Passage? It's all Roadie too. Like everything's Joe Roadie.
I know.
But honestly, Joe Roadie probably thought about this. Like, the queue should be here because you get a great angle here, and you get to see this and this, and it's like,
yeah.
Of course he was involved in all that.
Yeah. We both chose Roadie attractions.
Yeah, interesting.
When it came to detail.
Agreed.
Okay, worst. So we'd say, which one do you think the absolute worst one is? I mean, we could talk about a couple of bad ones. I mean, there's a lot of bad ones, truthfully. There's a lot of them that don't really have a lot to look at.
Yeah, let's see. Spaceship Earth, like I was going to say, especially if it starts raining or you get out in the sun and it slows down. I mean, that outdoor area is not great. That's pretty much all there is that outdoor area.
I think the absolute worst, though, because there's just nothing to it really, has got to be Astro Orbiter.
Oh, yeah, the Astro Orbiter is brutal. Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
And it never moves. And then you finally get on the elevator.
It's literally nothing.
And then you queue some more. Yeah, it's pretty rough.
That's got to be the worst overall. I mean, that's the first one that comes to my mind anyway, is worst.
Another bad one is right next to it, or near it, is the Speedway. I think is not a great.
Pretty bad.
And you're breathing in, fumes the whole time.
Another one that's bad, regular queue, and I kind of hate to say this because the attraction itself is good, but Slinky Dog's queue is brutal.
I would agree. Yeah, if you're in the standby queue for Slinky Dog, it is.
And the theming is very lacking overall. They could have done better.
Yeah, it's okay. Like parts of it are okay, but for the most part, it's just a really long line. There's not much to look at.
I mean, I get that it's supposed to be in Andy's backyard, but I mean, couldn't you have made it look like his backyard maybe in the queue or something? Like he had some toys that were like dropped behind or something? I mean, I don't know.
The Lightning Lane queue, even if it's backed up, which it was the last time we did it, you get to see the ride take off. Like you get to see the, Jesse and Rex up there, and you get to see the fence in the background that's supposed to look like the, fenced in yard.
But there's very little consistency, continuity, whatever you want to call it, that too, for as long as you have to wait.
Very little shade. I would even say, Alien Swirling Saucers is pretty rough.
Yeah.
Especially in the sun.
Another one that's kind of weird queuing-wise, just because of what it used to be, I think, is part of what makes this weird, is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the queuing part up until the pre-show. I mean, it's just weird now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a whole lot themed to it, really.
Yeah. The only thing you get to see in there are posters of some of the shorts that are fun, and they change. But
it's almost like they give you a glimpse of, hey, this is what it used to be.
Kind of, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're at the pre-show.
And it's frequently, out in that outdoor area where all you have is kind of umbrellas for shade or shelter from the rain. It's not great.
And it's almost like the first third of the, didn't change at all. Like, how you used to go in the Great Movie Ride and you had that part where you went back and forth and you could see the movie screen. Mm-hmm. Like the very first 3 or 4 lines is nothing different.
Right.
Is pretty much the exact same thing you did for Great Movie Ride, and the only thing that changed was they took the rest of the space and made 2 screens, 2 rooms.
Right.
I think it's just 2, isn't it? Just 2 rooms. I think it's just 2 rooms.
It's 2 or 3. I can't. Now I'm drawing a blank. It might just be 2.
I'm starting to question my.
Yeah, it might just be 2, but yeah, either way, right? It's the same screening room. It's just turned sideways, and they cut it in half instead of one big one.
So I guess we can move on now to the interesting one. Is there one you think that's kind of
underrated?
Underrated for what it is, yeah.
Underrated. Gosh.
Like one that maybe people don't talk about or mention, and then it's actually decent theming if they thought about it. One would have been my honorable mention is actually one, like I said, most people don't realize what they're trying to do with the queue it's tough to be a bug, so.
Yeah. Is it too early to say Ratatouille is underrated?
The part of it that's themed is kind of short.
Right. I mean, the outdoor area is not great, but once you get inside, the inside part is really cool. And of course, as
But
we
it's
said,
still, it's very brief as far
Yeah.
as to what they show you.
the part where you see the Gusto's sign is very short, and I love seeing it like come to life, and you
Yeah.
feel like you're on the rooftop, but it is a very short part of that queue.
Mm-hmm.
But that is
It's a
an
very
awesome
small
part.
room compared to what you would think, too.
It is, yeah. It's very small. The one in Paris is the same way, though, from what I recall. But they do have that one extra room that you have that Paris doesn't have. That little art studio room or whatever.
I was just trying to think of something that I would consider underrated. I'm going through them quickly in my mind.
Well, I would say it's not underrated, but Jungle Cruise queue is actually entertaining when if you listen to the radio part, the audio
Right.
part is actually quite entertaining.
And if you pay attention to the visual gags.
yeah, there's certain
as
visual
well.
gags too, but it can be a brutal queue as well when it's hot, and so
Right.
maybe slightly underrated.
Yeah, maybe slightly.
But
I'm trying to think of if there's any in maybe, say, Magic Kingdom that are underrated, but most of them are just what they are.
I mean, Big Thunder is not bad because once you get to the actual queue part, you can see the ride from different angles, and you can see kind of Tom Sawyer Island and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there's some, and if the riverboat's going by, that's a pretty cool time to see it. So it can be underrated, I guess, at times.
I really can't think of one right off the top of my head that I would consider underrated, truthfully. I'm just trying to think. I mean, maybe I have to agree that underrated, from the post that I saw, I may have to agree that Nemo maybe is a little more underrated.
Well,
Just because they have that section where it's like you're under the water and most people don't pay attention to that.
it's a welcome,
So-
cold, dark.
I've
room.
always enjoyed it.
I
It's-
enjoy
yeah,
it.
though it's kind of short.
I'll say the queue is better than the ride. I'll give it that.
That's funny. I mean, Rock and Roller Coaster is a pretty good theme, but it's again kind of short. It's appropriately themed.
The outdoor part is awful, but once you get inside the
Outdoor
studio,
parts
it's cool.
usually I haven't really spent much time in the outdoor part most of the time.
We were stuck in that outdoor part, and we had a lightning lane, and it was
Really?
because the ride had broken down, and then a lot of rides were down. As I said, we had a multi, and a lot of people use it for rocking, and it.
But once you're
slogged it
in
down.
there, I mean, it kind of does give you the feeling of a recording studio, and
Yeah. And then the
all that
back
good
alley
stuff.
kind of area, back alley,
Yeah.
going to the back
so I could
alley.
say that one might qualify as underrated.
It's pretty cool, and you get to see the ride taking off while you're kind of going through. It builds up the anticipation. That is pretty cool.
You know, honestly, I might could say, even though you put it on your list, I think Grand Fiesta Tour could be potentially classified as underrated, and I say that because it's not much to it. It's very short. It's like one of the shortest queues.
Yeah,
It's probably the shortest queue in Epcot.
possibly.
But there's just, I think the underrated part might come from if you have to stand on the outside part of it. At least you're in a themed area to like Mexico, and you can see the pyramid and everything. It's like it keeps there's stuff to keep your attention more so than there is in some other places.
That's one of my favorite areas in general. I just love being in there. Of course, La Cava. I mean, I can't say that enough. Yeah, it's great. If only they would let you take the drinks on Grand Fiesta Tour, I think it would be a more popular ride. Probably.
What would you say for something like a show maybe that has like a waiting area? That's kind of like a separate category.
I think
almost.
Tiki Room, that was one I was thinking of. Like Tiki Room, Country Bears. Like Country Bears is not, it's okay, but Tiki Room has some entertainment in the queue.
Country Bears is one of those that has some interesting detail because if you look down at the floor, you see the scratches and stuff like that of the bear claws.
That's
and all
about
that
it,
good
though.
stuff.
There's a few pictures on the wall. That's about it. There's not much.
Yeah. But at least it has that detail.
Tiki Room kind of has this little pre-show, which I like.
Yeah.
Paula Presence, this is not great.
American Adventure is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah,
The
there's some
part
cool
we have
stuff
to-
in there. And
Right.
you have to go up the big stairs, anyway.
Well, I said Tough to Be a Bug. It actually has a queue, but it's a show, but it has a queue.
I wouldn't, the Lion King, Festival of the Lion King, the queue for that is not great.
Yeah.
Swiss Family Treehouse is a great queue for something.
It's an endless queue.
Right.
It's an attraction / queue.
It's a great queue for Skipper Canteen when you're waiting for your table. Anyway.
I really got to think of, like, as far as the waiting area for maybe, like, let's just say if you were divided into categories of, like, say, the 3D shows, which 3D show has the best waiting area?
Of the 3D shows.
Okay, so you got Muppets and Hollywood Studios.
Muppets is entertaining.
You got PhilharMagic and Magic Kingdom. You have It's Tough to Be a Bug and Animal Kingdom.
Those are the only ones left, aren't there?
And I guess there is. There used to be one at Epcot, but now it's not. Technically, it's not. I mean, I guess if you want to count the Pixar Film Festival or whatever.
Pre-show for Muppets is still entertaining, so I like it.
Right, yeah, and it has little neat little things in it.
Yeah, some little
like you must be shorter than this
details.
to enter or something like that, and it has someone bumping their head.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think we covered a pretty good topic there. I mean, somewhat interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much wraps this up. What do you think?
It does. I agree.
All right. So if you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook at TWTM Podcast, Twitter and Instagram. That's also the same, at TWTM Podcast. We have a Spreadshirt store in which you can find your exclusive TWTM merchandise. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel. It has a few videos on it, as well as a more recent. It was done back in June, Ride on Guardians, done with an Instago 362, which again is not the best in low light, but it was a first time on that. So you can go check that out. And where else can you find it, Adam?
You can find it on our website, which is travelingwiththemouse.com. You can email us as well, podcast@travelingwiththemouse.com. And if you would like some assistance in booking your own Disney or Universal or Disney cruise, you can reach out to our travel agent friend, Jill Dilbeck, and you can email her, jilldilbeck@gmail.com, for more information on booking a trip.
So, for Adam, this is John, and this is Traveling with the Mouse, and we hope you will join us on our next trip. Shall you?
Yeah, next week we'll have to do, I think, some lounges and bars, because that was an interesting result.
Yeah, you brought up the topic. Well, what did it end up being? Is it done now?
I think it's still going, but it's clearly Nomad Lounge. Like, everyone thinks Nomad is the best. And again, it's Joe Rohde. It's got Joe Rohde's fingerprint all over it.
Well, I was going to say, when y'all recently went there, you kind of thought, hey, this is really good.
Yeah, it was an instant. It was like, why haven't we come here before?
It's like, why have we waited until now to do this?
Word.